Hello, welcome back.
Hey.
Another world building stream. Today we're going to talk about how we can save your soul from eternal damnation. We're going to talk about the Dragon King. We talked about him a little bit and the controversial past, but that's okay. We can forgive him. He was cancelled in his time, but he's back, better than ever.
It's all slander.
But Raph, you have a close personal relationship with the Dragon
Oh,
King.
jeez. Okay. Oh, okay. Yep. You're starting out strong.
The Dragon King is some people might say genocidal, some people might say oppressive, some might even say, as far as going, tyrannical.
Yeah, but do you know what this sounds like to me, Des? This sounds like the propaganda of other old gods wishing to.
This sounds like Elvish propaganda. That's all.
It sounds like Elvish propaganda entirely.
Elvish propaganda. The terrorist organizations that are all elves.
I mean, I don't really see anything wrong with that.
So, let's start from the beginning. The Dragon King was something before that. There were actually two somethings before it. Technically three somethings before.
Technically three, which we've briefly gone into and discussed.
Yeah. So, the Dragon King was originally being called the Void Dragon, which we talked about a little bit in our last streams. We're going over a lot of the history and a lot of the starting arts of the world, where there was two beings, the Divine Observer and the a bit louder than Raph. I can fix that. Thank you.
You're a bit louder than Raph. Okay.
Raph, speak.
Hello. This is Raph speaking. Today we're talking about the Dragon King. How's that sounding, Kate?
Okay, that sounds on my levels anyway. That looks about the same.
Yeah. Hey, it wouldn't be one of our streams without a.
Well, look, my sonar software is completely scuffed, so all my levels are fucked. But yes, so originally they were the Void Dragon. The Void Dragon being of utmost destruction, some might say. I just see it as a hungry old deity that feasted on planets, and really, that's your fault if you're a planet in its way. You know, Void Dragon doesn't concern itself with ants. Why would it concern itself with the mortals?
Exactly.
But,
or sometimes even immortals.
Unfortunately, the Divine Observer posted about him on Twitter. He got cancelled and made a bunch of great old gods that came and destroyed him.
It's like, yeah.
Look, the Horned Serpent didn't rid Bozo any elves. That's straight up lies.
Yeah.
The Dragon King, however, did send a few Dragon Knights out there to purge the world of terrorism. And honestly, that sounds like a just cause.
And there was a lot of elves that just ran straight into his mouth and just happened to get burnt alive, swallowed, like...
Look, technically speaking, there's no survivors
from
Bex. You can't prove a thing.
Yeah, exactly. What happened in Bex? No one knows.
Yeah, rip Bozo for terrorism.
A few people.
But yeah, they were the Horned Serpent, who was and not the biggest participant in the War of the Gods, but did choose the side of the Eye of Ruin, and sought to, pretty much chose their own side. We're scheming throughout the entire thing, trying to make it the most profitable.
Yeah. See, I was going to say, I almost imagined to be two parts of that. The first is that I imagine the Horned Serpent saw it as an opportunity to try and reclaim parts of the Void Dragon, and if he could, to boost his own power rather than help the Eye of Ruin. However, I also think in my mind, the Jeweled Wings being in more good nature sided with the Dawn Watcher, and that's what pulled the Horned Serpent towards the Eye of Ruin. It's okay, my nemesis has joined the other side.
Absolutely read like a book. So you said it there. The Jeweled Wings joined up with the Dawn Watcher to protect the forces of good and such, and that's when the Horned Serpent was like, wait a minute, I could kill that person. If I just decide with this side.
Advantage.
Because no one's gonna for example, the Horned Serpent fully knew, if I go and start trying to kill the Jeweled Wings and take, absorb him to reform part of the Void Dragon, that's going to get me in a lot of trouble with all the other gods. Whereas if we're just happen to be fighting and they happen to die and I absorb part of them,
can't blame me.
It's a knock-on effect. It was out of my hands, out of my control.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, that didn't come to pass. So when the Queller gods arrived, and they got all sent to the big nap in the sky.
The big nap in the sky.
All of them were put down for their nap, and
for their forever sleep.
For their forever sleep. And honestly, that's a mood. There was many years of, no draconic influence. The last mytho dragon died. The main forces of the Horned Serpents and the Jeweled Wings all ceased.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, Raph, here's a bit that I blank on in my memory.
Yes. Yeah.
How did the Horned Serpent get woken up? I'm blanking.
I don't really know, Des, to be honest. I reckon it was like a series of just unstoppable events. Like, no one had really any influence over it. Like, especially mortals probably couldn't have done a thing to stop it. So I don't really know what you're talking about. That's generally what I think. Like,
so see, here's where I'm coming from. Oh my god, I realized that we still have emote only chat on from yesterday, so I will fix that. Because I don't normally do that.
Kate over here just writing.
No, Kate's able to write because Kate's a moderator, but that's the thing as everyone else.
Right.
Kate, you're a mod settings. No, I can do it. I don't think admins can change it.
That's mortal.
Well, look, better to figure it out now than later. Let's turn that off.
Me admins.
Hey, everyone is free to say what they please.
Or not.
Or not. That is it. But I very there you go, Raph. Maybe I should have a mode only chat on for you.
Yeah. Good old Dibs 52.
Yeah, who's that cringe lord? But that being said,
who is that?
we did hear rumors throughout Quintos as a whole of how the Horned Serpent was woken up.
Yes.
Oh, that's really cool, Kate. Kate actually can change the chat type from the looks of it. That's helpful. That is less Twitch really moderation for me.
Yeah. So in terms of how the Horned Serpent came to be woken up, in the what was the name of the island chain? I'm completely blank.
Blood Pearl Bay.
Blood Pearl Bay, but what was like the whole area?
Feral Harbor.
Was it just Blood Pearl Bay? Oh, Feral Harbor. That's it. In the island chain of Feral Harbor,
Peninsulas,
particularly around Peninsula's island chain. Whatever you
Holy
want to call
site.
Yeah, holy site, revered ground.
Wait, can I ask you for the biggest reach of your fucking life?
Absolutely, does.
I don't think there is a deeper pull that I can think for this than you.
Yes.
When you were in that fire-based temple, what was the name of the red dragon that was guarding artifacts of the Horned Serpent?
Okay, Des, I'm gonna need you to give me 1 second here. All right.
Hey, Fajik, donate $5. So, sorry to distract from the topic. When don't we? What happens to a person with dissociative identity disorder becomes a deity, either in your world via the Ascension artifact or other worlds? Fajik knows how the dragon woke up. Yeah, don't leak it. Don't leak it. But I've thought about this a little bit. It hasn't happened, obviously. It hasn't happened in setting in Quintos or the Rapid Inside. None of the old gods have something like that. And dissociative identity disorder is, I will preface my statement this. I know painfully little about dissociation. Like I know about dissociation, but actually for actual diagnosis of how that works, I know very little. I don't think Raph does either.
Not an awful lot. I would say that it would carry across to their deity, though, like in them being a deity. Like, that doesn't alter, like, through the artifact of Ascension, for example, it doesn't alter the way one is in terms of their personality. In fact, it even sort of reinforces a lot of personality traits that they have in their mortal life. So I would say it would carry over. And that would become part of their aspect as a deity.
A deity that disassociates a lot. Like I have experienced dissociation before. I think a lot of people have. I don't know about you, Raph, but it's like those sort of moments in life when things get wild.
Yeah.
But there is definitely. I think it'd be very interesting for like almost the god's abilities to like almost get away from them a little bit.
What?
Like,
Yeah, what was the question again? Sorry.
so what happens to a person with this dissociative identity disorder becomes a deity?
Right.
I would say
Well,
they would keep it. It'd be part
I
of their
think
divine
that's quite
identity.
interesting. Because that's quite interesting then, because part of that is very much having what is known as like probably not correctly anymore, which is like multiple personality disorder. I think was the old term used for it, or maybe that's something else, but it's similar to that.
I think that's something else.
No, that it is. That's very much what dissociative identity disorder is.
Oh, okay.
Is basically that type of. So I would say that would become part of their. That's what I was talking about in terms of their deityhood. Like you would have these different.
You'd have different aspects and different approaches
to their nature, depending on the identity. Which once again, it's not something I know a whole lot on. That's just how I'm speculating that it would remain purely upon based upon the fact that with a lot of ascended gods, for example, they still retain a lot of their mortal personality traits. That
so
doesn't leave them,
it's
and a lot
the
of
proper
their
name for
mental...
multiple personality disorder. Okay, so yeah, we're on the right vein. Again, take this with a grain of salt. We'll be as sensitive as the topic as we can be. We you know, it's just from our perspective, we are no by means experts on. Fortunately, I don't have anyone in. Unfortunately, I don't have enough experience with it to have like a super strong knowledge set of it. But I do think when it comes to ascended gods, it's nothing in their mindset or wheelhouse of what they were is taken away or changed by the fact of ascension. Everything is kind of all that they were and all that they have been was kind of turned up to 11.
Yes.
It's kind of like everything is amplified by the sheer amount of energy running through them, which is why you know like Solelia specifically is someone who I don't want to put a specific any disorder on it, but I think she was someone who suffered from severe paranoia. That was a big issue of Solelia even before she was a goddess, and that kind of anxious and paranoia eventually is what turned her to be so, it pushed her over the edge, because it was there is something to be said for the ascended gods that it does there's a lot of power that goes through them, but there's only so much that their psyche can handle in regards to whatever. So if it really pushes it past, it can make them very much so, which is
once again like a major difference between old gods and ascended gods. The ascended gods are still very much mortal in the way that their brains work and the way that their personality is. That they still think and they still have a lot of the same traits and things like that mortals have themselves. Like that doesn't get erased.
No, I wouldn't erase it.
I think to answer that question quite succinctly, they would retain their dissociative identity disorder even after ascending.
Yeah, they would retain it, and it might even affect some of their domains if there was specific parts of them that felt strongly connected to one at a specific time over another. They may actually possibly cover or try to cover multiple domains.
That would actually be something very interesting to see in a setting crafted by someone who knows a lot more about it, obviously.
Yeah, I don't feel like I could personally do it justice.
Yeah, I know that it is a sensitive topic for a lot of people as well, so it's not something that I would want to wade into, at least without doing a lot of research into it. But yeah, so just my 2 cents at least, I don't think
I do, at least I think there is aspects where I don't know if I can't remember a specific setting, but there is something that's coming to my mind of a so-called the many-faced god. I think that's something where it's there is. I think you could even argue something like in Game of Thrones, the Fates of the Seven. It's all one person, but 7 aspects. You could work at something akin to that, where it's you have bits like that. But as Russ said, it's if it was something I were to do, I would probably want to work closely with someone who's personally familiar or theoretical and studied experience with the one thing, to make sure I would do it justice and not offend anybody. But that is a very good question. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, that is it's a very interesting thing that for someone out there to do. I'd be very interested to see it.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see be a key aspect. But let's talk about how the Dragon King was.
To go back to your question that you tasked me, your big reach. Do I get anything for guessing it right?
But see, the thing is, if you guess it and it doesn't click in my brain that I remember, I'm then going to have to pull out my books and read through it.
Okay.
So,
but Des, if I get it right, this is a big reach here. This is a big reach. This is going back years.
Okay.
Like, what do I get for getting it right? And I have confidence that I'll be able to get it right.
I don't really have anything to give right now.
Yeah,
I'll be fully honest. So,
I just want to put it.
Look, if we live closer together, I could offer you some freshly baked goods, but unfortunately we do not.
Offer me some butterscotch. Right. Well, this is the name.
Oh, I remember it.
The name is Malkovir.
I literally just remembered it. I was like, oh.
Yep, the name is Malkovir.
Yeah, Physics says, sorry, my brain is right. No, it's not weird, my guy. That's an absolutely fine question to ask. I think it's a good thought-provoking exercise.
And Cade, you are so off there.
You're so off. I don't know. My brain literally
off.
just clicked there, and it was like Malkovir, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like my brain just clunk.
But yeah, to go back in terms of how the Horned Serpent was awoken. But yeah, in Feral Harbor, in a very small, one island that comprises Feral Harbor, called Bloodpearl Bay, in the middle of the jungle, there was a small settlement called Strukthar.
There was.
Which
But
was
first
a
thing,
settlement of...
we do have a new person in chat saying, DM Skull says, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to piece what's going on in the conversation. I joined halfway through. What are they talking about right now? So we're talking about the history of a being in our setting called the Dragon King. We got a little sidetracked there with the question from chat about a god with dissociative identity disorder. So we were just covering our opinions on that and what we would broach it like. And specifically, we're talking about the history of the Dragon King, the draconic deity in our setting that basically was once a god of chromatic dragons and a god of metallic dragons, all fused together. So it's a little bit of history and a little bit of what their goals are and what they did. We're fairly early in. We're talking about the first bit. The first bit was called the Horned Serpent, the god of chromatic dragons. We're talking about how they got woken up because in our setting there was a war of the gods where all the gods were ended by being put to sleep and their spiritual and physical form being separated. So we're taking it from there.
Yeah.
My moves to players do the heavy lifting. See, that's interesting, DM Skull, because I start a campaign and I start a world by writing out a big ass pantheon. That's like my, session zero writing. I start with the pantheon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Raph, we were talking about how there was a small
mood. Yes.
There was a small little village called Strukthar.
Strukthar, inhabited by mainly Yuan Ti. I think there was like one or two other races there. Really,
there was one human.
Yuan Ti. There was one human. Yeah, that's right. Because in like the breakdown, it was like 99.9% Yuan Ti.
It was 99.57 or something.
Yeah, something ridiculous, like one human. But yeah, it was a Yuan Ti who worshipped the Horned Serpent, who in the setting was quite a forgotten about god, considering his more evil, nefarious nature, or the way it was seen by a lot of fools out there. But eventually a group of adventurers, the Ravenwell investigators, stumbled upon, through a series of accidents, they stumbled upon this temple and this village. And eventually they were taken. I can't remember how steps went to waking it up, but eventually they went into the temple where it was slumbering. I think there was some sort of ritual, something was performed.
I have a better memory of this. So I think
I can't actually remember how it woke up. I remember getting there and what happened afterwards, but it happened in such like a chaotic.
It was chaotic. DM Scott, thanks for the follow. And you said, I find other aspects more interesting. I start with economy personally. Both are not wrong. That's interesting. Rap actually starts with history and starts with like a major conflict and
like much more like a political history of the countries that I'm starting with, developing that, which is I
always start with the gods, and then I just immediately go to the creation myth of where people think everything came from. But no, there's no wrong way to start. But Raf, so specifically what happened is, I was about to say something slanderous, but a adventuring group made their way to made their way to Struchtha and made friends with a lot of the Yuan Ti there. Specifically, there was one person there. I know this name. I don't know if you remember it. The guardian of the village.
I remember it was. Well, I remember the one who woke the god, which is Ikoza.
So,
the guardian was Suzeki.
The Strong. Suzeki the Strong was the guardian.
Suzeki
and if you remember,
it was like Ikoza,
his spear
like the high priestess.
had a fang
the tooth. The tooth, yeah.
The tooth. And that was when each god was sealed, part of their something of them was taken to, like, you know, separate it to, like, just a small separation of their mortal form.
Right.
So when he returned with the spear and put the fang onto this god, it unified the body and allowed it to wake up.
Yeah.
So a simple binding, but effective.
Yeah. The high priestess that performed it was killed. Malkovir was killed. Suzeki the Strong was rewarded. Seen as worthy and rewarded by the Horned Serpent who woke up. We were essentially, considering our role in it, we were allowed to flee and spread the news of the Horned Serpent.
Which is very on brand for the Horned Serpent. Even in the Fall of Max did the same thing.
Yep. But in the process, we contracted... I'm saying we because, it's revealed. I played a hand in this unwillingly. Although
I did play a little bit in this.
I did play a little bit. It was more just trying to stop it.
It was technically Victor. I will say that. It was technically Victor.
Yes, it was technically Victor, and it was more the fact that we didn't do anything to stop it, which would have still been difficult. It was of...
At that stage, you could, when you saw that happening, you could have fought.
But we didn't really put it together. I think a lot of it, we didn't quite put it together.
I think a lot of it was analysis paralysis.
It was, and a lot of it was not piecing together the sheer significance of the fact that we were going to wake up the first god in thousands of years. And I don't think we quite realized the magnitude of what was happening before us, which is quite on brand for the characters we were playing. Like, they were just small town fucking private investigators who somehow stumbled onto this whole adventure.
Originally, my intent for that session was you would see Ikoza, who, like, people I had made you, like, befriend. You were seeing their cultist nature, and they were like, wait, we've stumbled, like, you've led us here. So they're thinking you are, like, deep in on it. We are cultists together. Everyone's culting up.
See, I think that was another issue as well, is that we had befriended the people of this village so much that we had actually really started to like them. We really started to like them. Some of us had formed very close bonds with some of the the village people from the village.
Very good question there in chat though. DM says, so in your guys' opinion, when you DM in your homebrew, what is the mental distinction between a cult or a church? Size and intent usually. And what they worship, because there's a lot of cults to, you know, non-celestial beings or non-deities, which I think is a big one. But I think the size, like, kind of like a cult is obviously starting out smaller, and before it can be seen as an actual church or whatever. But as Kate is agreeing with me in chat there, intent. A lot of people brand things a cult to try and discredit them and to have people not engage with them. So if intent comes out that they are looking for something diverse, and even some that aren't, like, there's religions in my setting that have been stamped out because the mainline church falsely and intentionally falsely called them a cult to discredit them and discredit their worship.
Yeah, which I also think plays a major role, at least when I'm personally world building. It also comes down a lot of the time to prevailing religious and political beliefs at the time in terms of what is currently the dominant strand
and what's considered okay
and
form of worship.
What is deemed to be worshipable and what is not. What is considered to be a deviant behavior in religious terms, and what is considered to be righteous.
We do see it a little bit at our own table in our mainline game of Mondays at 12 p.m. GMT +1. We play the Kingslayers, and you're working against an actual saint, Samael. But not once has his worshippers ever been referred to as the Church of Samael. It's his cultists. You know, it's
his cultists, which I think a major difference comes from the fact that cult, especially for us, carries with it a very negative connotation, and not just like a small negative, like a very heavy,
dangerous and
dangerous,
the zealous energy behind it.
and it has a very subversive connotation to it. It's not something that exists in sort of higher echelons of society or widespread. It's very subversive, very below the radar type of thing, very isolated from prevailing thoughts. So I think that plays into it a lot as well, personally.
Absolutely, I agree.
Exactly.
They just need good company t-shirts. That's key for rebranding. Absolutely.
Precisely.
That is 100%. Actually, as funny as that is the difference between a cult and a church. It's all marketing.
It's all marketing. I think if Samael started to print out t-shirts for all of his followers, everything would change around.
DMSco says, by chance are you talking about the Church of Samael from Anima Beyond Fantasy setting, or did you take it from history? No, Samael is actually a saint in our setting. It's just a very angelic name that was befitting for the intent of the character. He is the vampire saint of undeath in our setting. He's trying to become a god. I am not familiar with what Anima Beyond Fantasy is, but
I don't know. I did a quick Google and it seems like it's a role-playing
but
game.
Samael was kind of that more like biblical style name, which is kind of what was the intent for naming him, because he looks very angelic in his appearance. He's that sort of what you would assume in modern adaptations of what angels like this divine beauty would look like.
Yeah. But yeah, so with the Horned Serpent waking up, we were allowed to free. All of that changed, and unfortunately, in the process of us escaping, there are a lot of deaths. We had 2 people die on the escape. Myself and another person made it away, and then I died shortly afterwards.
I don't want to phrase that. You sacrificed yourself shortly afterwards in completely off topic. You were avenging something of your family and got killed in the process. But it was
vengeance complete.
But died in the chance. Died in the attempt. It was definitely worthwhile though. But also it's a really crunchy percentile dark fantasy tabletop RPG. Really fun if you like customization. I may have to look that up. That sounds interesting.
Sounds interesting. But yeah, so in terms of that, so the word of the Dragon King, the Horned Serpent, sorry, through the surviving member, it may have spread somewhat, but the thing is that a lot of people, one person going around saying the Dragon King, the Horned Serpent has woken up, is seen as a mad prophet.
Yes.
Ultimately, that's what it seems that they are. And
actually, because for the next
a lot of the
50 odd years, we had quiet.
Yeah, exactly. The next 50 odd years, there was nothing. No sign of him.
So we had many years of one person going around saying that the Dragon King has risen. But I believe actually if we look back in our chats with that player, he said, I'm not saying anything. I just want to live my life and wait for doomsday. He was like, I'm not drawing attention. I'm trying to hide. I'm trying to find a way to weather this storm, because if I remember, that was Elros, who actually ended up going 2 continents over almost from where you were.
Yeah.
Literally the other side of the world. Founded a small bards college and waited it out.
I'm trying to think. I know that I mentioned it because playing a monk, and there was a monastery I was with. I mentioned it to one of the people there, type of thing, slightly, but they were almost. I remember they were almost very dismissive of it. Sure. Are you sure you didn't see a dragon somewhere, type of thing?
Yeah,
it wasn't quite.
Even it wasn't common knowledge that all gods were put to sleep. That wasn't known.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're there. So there was essentially afterwards there was 50 years of quiet. The world went on as normal. Some places good, some places awful, some places Ravenloft, which is below awful. And yeah, things continued along until one day, Des, if you would like to go into the disastrous.
There was
event.
Past tense this city called Bex, very very well prosperous port city in the Sun Elven Kingdom. They were people strewn about their day, happy as could be, until about 2 mile wide gash long in the sky cracked open, and dragons just started spewing from it in all variety of ancient, adult, young and wormling, and then the body manifested of the horned serpent in its full eldritch form, with scales of each
Giant.
color of chromatic.
Yeah. Because, like, how big is this dragon? Like, when it manifested in its eldritch form, it took up, like, quite a decent size in the sky. Like, it is huge.
Yeah,
It's not just, like, a normal...
like bigger than most things. Like, it's like in that moment it used magics to make itself much, much larger. But it was like
Yeah.
full length, like curled different, but it's like the crack that appeared in the sky was 2 miles wide long as is. So it's like this thing's massive.
Mhm.
Another great question in chat though.
Yeah,
Speaking of
actually,
bard
it is
colleges and
live.
monk monasteries, have you taken thought of the purpose of these establishments within your world? These are just things that I tend to think a lot about in my homebrew world. Yeah, actually, we do have, even on our shameless self plug right now, on our Patreon, we
Shameless
had
plug.
there a little bit. We have a College of the Brass Lungs, which is a bard college that is literally dedicated to be
Mhm.
like a guild of town criers that is all throughout the world, just spreading the like world news to try and make sure that everyone is informed. And we have a subclass dedicated to it. There's a monk subclass hopefully soon that we'll be talking about. That is a monastery dedicated to a very specific part of the world. And yeah, that Cade guy helped make that bard college. It's very cool.
Yeah.
We
And
have a lot of cool stuff.
for-
I don't have a link for the
and then
Patreon
for-
right now, but someone might.
And in terms of that, we also have the, as another example, we have the Rahashir, which is
We do have the
group of
Rahashir.
bards, which are essentially travel the world collecting secrets and knowledge to try and influence the political stage on a global level, to ultimately benefit themselves. But yeah, they ultimately have the front as working as bards from the College of Sakti Lavia.
Yeah.
To
I did put the Patreon in the chat.
basically operate on that level.
It is $5 a month to get access. We will be doing a big push of content soon, hopefully. We're probably going to start talking about it somewhat soon, very somewhat soon. But up there, I think that so far there's 2 subclasses. One that I worked on with Cade, and then one that Cade designed purely by themselves. A fighter completely dedicated to stress. And you also get access to our World Anvil if that's something that interests you. It is in there. Or subscribing to the Twitch channel also gets you the World Anvil, but won't get you the cool stuff that the Patreon gives. When people ask about it, I don't like talking about it too much other than at the end, but it's a natural point to put it in. So if it's something that interests you, Stress Knight is dope. We played in one of our campaigns.
Yes, Stress Knight is dope. But in regards to your question, though, I think bard colleges and monk monasteries are 2 very interesting and slightly unorthodox organizations where you can pretty much take them in whatever direction you want to. Like, there's so
but even
much
there's something like a paladin order. We have paladin orders, literally like the Tempest Soul, that are like in our setting. It's something that is like most things are hyper specific to setting.
Yes, hyper specific. The thing is that I feel like in a lot of settings, at least from my experience, monk monasteries are not real, and sort of like monk orders are not really as developed compared to like religious or like arcane based orders. They're not really developed, and if they do, it's a very just generic almost. Not talking about our setting, of course. I wouldn't shit talk us in that way. But I feel
we
like
want to be brave to do that.
Well, considering I came up with a monk order in our world, I would hope not. I would hope
you're not shitting your own stuff.
I hope I'm not shitting my own stuff. But no, I feel like
we love that. That sort of stuff is so much like how we try and take it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can do a lot of interesting things with those, which can be slightly unorthodox. Because usually they present like there's a very stereotypical way of presenting, like a bard college or a monk monastery, and they lend themselves very well to changing those tropes, those stereotypes of what they are. They lend themselves to that really well. Yeah, my rambling 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I love the rambling. This is our Robo Stream of Wednesday, DM Squill. If you're hanging out of a Wednesday, you'll get to know that we get sidetracked frequently and often. We used to call these World Building Wednesday, but now we just meme with the names because, let's be honest, shit doesn't get done.
Look, shit does sometimes get done. Last week was a very productive week. We talked about a lot. We got a lot covered, and I was.
Did we write a single bit of it down?
No. Get out of here. Look, the writing is a very. I feel like we need like someone who just types what we say down
So you're
while
saying we
we
need some
talk.
form of like scribe, and if they were eldritch, that wouldn't be a problem.
No, got him.
Got him.
Um,
Roll credits.
yeah. And stream right there, please. No, but yeah. So to get back to the Horned Serpent Dragon King, arrived at the city of Bex and essentially using their dragons and their own abilities, left no survivors, or tried to leave no survivors.
No, like I could read you the quote word for word. He wanted some survivors. He just, in our setting, blood is where the old magics come from, and having a lot of blood means you can do a lot of stuff. But specifically, the part of Bex that was so concerning for them is it was a Sun Elven kingdom, which is our kind of equivalent of like a High Elven culture, but more desert-like. And the problem is Sun Elves and Moon Elves and many elves could return to Star Elves, which were the closest things that could eventually become gods. So it was the Horned Serpent's prerogative to start killing all the elves. It was amass wealth and power for 50 years. Like, spawn as many dragons of many ages as you can and go find your old dragons and wake up your old lieutenants that you can find. And then when we're ready to strike, we're the only deity. And then specifically the reason why they strike in Lunacourt, specifically that continent, and then name of that country.
Of which country?
Of the Sun Elven kingdom that Bex was in. I know Lunacourt is the continent.
Novelia? It was something like Novelia? No, it was something with an N.
I'll figure it out sometime. But the jeweled wings material form that they spent 50 years trying to look for was, I believe, buried or close within that pyramid that was within the capital.
Yes.
So
yes, it was.
That's
just
very
to catch
much
up on what was said. Well, I was pausing to see if you would read it.
Oh, I thought you were.
DM school. No, DM school. In my setting, monks come from only certain countries in the world, and within those two cultures, one views the monasteries as political houses, making them as elaborate as possible to be a status symbol and to taunt their rival monasteries. The strong makes right mentality because they are the strongest. They made the laws. The other society monks are like cult-like fanatics hailing from a Viking society and is in pursuit of becoming the deadliest versions of themselves, so they are always armed when they enter the gates of Valhalla. Viking monks, I agree with Kate, Viking monks do sound kind of badass. However, I also really like the idea of monasteries, though, as political houses. That is a very unique idea. I like that a lot.
That's very
really like that.
But I think that's one thing that I love about D&D is like specifically when we went from like other side of the world, because to catch people up, our material realm has two halves, Darapatin and Quenthos. So on the Darapatin side was pre-stream and I kind of just let anything go, do whatever I want. But when we came to Quenthos, I really curated the list of races and like magics and subclasses that are like available, because it's curating a specific theme for the world, and I think that's very interesting. And specifically, if she's listening, I just didn't want Daria to play Artificer.
This is when we see Daria just typing.
Just pop into the chat for an angry slander. Look, gotta shit talk your friends. But no, like there is like a specific theme being cultivated is something that I always really enjoy, and I think it makes settings feel so much limited your creativity. I know. If you can't have an exotic race, you can't have an exotic character. What was I thinking? But no, like it was very, very much. I think having a limited creativity, a curated list. 1 second.
Ban Artificer forever.
You fool! I just screenshotted that and I'm sending it to Daria.
Yeah, Daria, come after you, Kate.
There you are. I've got that screenshotted and I'm going to put it in the Discord. Just to...
Put in 4K. I'll be red. Fighting words, Kate. Fighting words.
My money's on Daria.
Oh, fuck. There's over here currently in the Discord trying to stoke the flames of
I am
between party
stoking the
members.
flames.
Trying to see, just watching their like prodding party members with a stick.
Inter-party conflict starts in the Discord call.
Yeah.
Oh no, Daria is typing.
What were we saying, Des?
We were talking about the but no, the specifically like the Horned Serpent started. Oh my god, we're absolutely awful.
Look, fight to the death. The winner decides. The winner decides if this is real or not.
Daria, please. Kate doesn't understand that. He is from Australia. Please say Macca's.
Yeah, it's Macca's. Come on, can't say McDonald's. What is that place? It's Macca's.
But no, the massacre at Bex started, and many people fell, and there was a few people in there. All the Dragonborn and the Yuan-Ti started losing their minds, started being completely mind controlled by this eldritch being that was like their primogenitor, like the first being of their species. Yeah, sorry, Daria. Ada is playing Artificer next campaign. They sent the PayPal. I actually think that would get Daria on a plane to come kill me, so I can't.
Yes, Daria would find a way to hunt you guys down.
That would should be after me and my larger drawing tablet. But no, the Horned Serpent started being absolute stinker
right now. This is fucking
This is bullying. We actually at her at the Discord channel to come and come to the chat to be bullied. But no, it's specifically the Inbex, and within that
yes.
It is a Hubble brag. You're not wrong.
Hubble brag.
I am quite the Hubble person.
You're the Hubblest person.
But no, so a lot of atrocities, and you did escape, and that's what caused our next campaigns. Really, that was the backdrop. Was people that had survived and were working against the Horned Serpent in a way to
a bigger tablet. Des, can you show your tablet to stream?
No, actually, the way my desk is positioned right now,
it's too heavy. It's too heavy. And
it's simply too large.
It would just take up the whole screen. Just like imagine this is like it's just black because that is just holding it up. It's just dark.
No, it actually has a very beautiful backdrop of art that Daria did. Humble brag for Daria. It has our Kingslayer's art on it, so it's very nice.
You know what? If you want to know more about Daria, go check out her art.
Actually, you know what? Let's not be humble. Everyone, stop what you're doing right now. Everyone, look at Daria's Twitter. She is really there. The art is phenomenal. She takes commissions. She did. You know what? Actually, let me get up our own Twitter.
Yeah, bullying over. Let's support.
Let's look at some art that Daria did just for a moment. So we have our main character campaign is Kingslayers, and specifically about Kingslayers is we have tarot card style art, which is phenomenal, absolutely beautiful. So we're going to take a quick minute to look at what Daria did, because we're going to just aggressively be nice to Daria. Look at this stuff. Unfortunately,
cool that is.
We've cut off AJ's character because Twitter doesn't like AJ. The aspect ratio is messed up. But actually, wait, do we just live review Daria's Twitter? Everyone, we're going over to th-dash.com on Twitter. 1 second, I'm fixing this. So
this is cruel.
We're gonna look at this because it's phenomenal. Like no, like in a not like Mimi way or whatever. We're gonna look at this because she is very talented.
Yeah.
So
she does amazing art.
Let's look at this. Look at this stuff. It's honestly, look at this. It's just so cool.
I know.
She is a pleasure to work with. She's really good to work with. Look at this though. Like this just random sketch around a girl.
Look at that dude.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this shit.
Absolutely incredible. Absolutely fucking incredible.
Does not promote herself enough. Everyone, if you're not following Daria, go over to Twitter, follow Daria. Straight now. We're gonna. I put in a command, but
we're just gonna go through this and we're gonna show them off because that's what.
Follow Daria's Twitter. She deserves it.
Yeah.
Like, look at the fucking details on this dude's eyes. I don't play Genshin. I'm not a weeb, but look at that shit. Man, look at this bat. Look at this cool shit. Look at this all. Happy Ink Day. Happy Ink Day to you, Daria. Look at this. College of the Brass Oaks.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this. It's there. She did the art for it. It's on the document as well.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so good. Everett, an NPC of our campaign, the king of a region. This is Everett. He's super cool. He's probably one of my favorite NPCs.
Yeah.
Daria, I'm not going to stop. I'm praising you.
Yeah.
Like, look at this. It's just so talented. Honestly, just really, really good. Really, really good.
10 out of 10 work every time.
10 out of 10 would work with again. And will work with again, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This isn't a world building stream. This is hype up your friends.
Damn straight.
Not even just putting a link, but actually pulling up the Twitter and going through the art.
Yeah, that is the next level. That is the next level. And you know what? I love
Aggressive wholesomeness. It's a Hubble
aggressive
show.
wholesomeness. Yeah. That's what we do here. We're aggressively wholesome.
We are aggressively wholesome. We do love your work. But no,
if in case we haven't said enough, we absolutely fucking love your work.
it's phenomenal.
But yes.
In Bex, where the Horn Serpent is, there was many people that
Yes.
escaped, including you, and it kicked off a thing that we realized in our world, that the Dragon King, the Horned Serpent, the Eye of Ruin, the naming convention for all of the old gods is there. It's very specific. They are this something, this, that, whatever. The Dawn Watch and the Matron of the Woods. But they do have a name. It's not that they don't. They do have it, but it is... and I love you, but don't tell anyone. Thank you, Daria. I see you. I will get to you on Monday.
Yeah.
It's even funnier when it's wholesome. But we started searching for the name of the Horned Serpent to try and, because knowing the name of an old god gives you somewhat power, not complete, but power to try and work and seal or put to sleep something to fight back against these old gods. There was shards of it throughout the world, and you looked for it. You definitely did. You tried your best, but sometimes altars with bone daggers on them are just a little bit too tempting.
I don't know what you're talking about, Des. I have no idea.
Look, I'm not naming names or calling anybody out.
No, why would you?
I wouldn't. That's just not who I am. But if I were to call somebody out, I would say that seeing a infernal summoning rune on a altar, you should probably investigate that before you use the infernal summoning rune.
Maybe, but like, if your character has a certain affinity towards infernal stuff, you know, and if a certain player isn't thinking straight in the moment, then maybe they may take a step too far and just activate it without thinking, thus leading to a TPK, potentially. We're only speaking of potentials here. However, Des, I will put this to you though. A, how interesting did the world become after we failed? And B, how cool was Into a Cirrus? Which I played a major role in happening with that character. So, you know what?
You're a lot nicer than me and my co-hosts are to each other. We take stabs at each other constantly. Oh, don't worry. We hard go in each other every Monday in regular game. I do not pull any punches for these nerds on a Monday. But it's as fun as it is to shit talk your friends. It's also fun to hype them up. Especially when they are.
We do shit talk each other sometimes, though.
Something fierce, but that's normally pre and post stream. We try and keep.
It is.
We're like an abusive family. We're nice to everyone on the outside, but once the doors are closed, it's hands on sight.
Once the guests have left, then it's just straight back to it.
Yeah. But speaking of abusive families, the Horned Serpent really abused the shit out of you guys.
The worst older brother.
The worst older brother I have. But no, they worked really hard in the fact that you guys, I think you had 1 or 2 name fragments by the time. No, you had 1.
We had 1.
You're on your second. You did follow a false lead.
We did follow a false lead, and the one we were getting was a very difficult one to get, admittedly.
Yes.
Not that excuses anything, but it was a hard one to get.
It was hard. You had to dungeon crawl up a tower that was wiping your memories, and that was difficult to get through. It was a very hard thing. You guys were doing quite well, but things went from bad to worse. And as you said, unfortunately, the party did lose. So we actually had a really large time jump in our campaign then, I think of some 400 odd years, to see the knock-on effects of what a world ruled by the Dragon King, because they went around and either claimed to, or did in a lot of cases, slay the mortal form of the old gods, so that only their spiritual forms remained. Now, in our setting, the old gods are almost impossible to kill. Their spiritual forms can last without a body for a really long time. But the most of their physical power comes from their physical form. Like, they can still grant blessings and such through their spiritual form, but to command armies and such the like is not going to happen if they can't inhabit their own body. So most of them being unable to, it left free reign for the Dragon King to reunite with another one of the thirds of the Void Dragon to become inarguably the single strongest being. You know?
Yeah.
That is
with the physical form left.
With the physical form. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And there was the lawfulness of the jeweled wings that kind of tempered the rage of the Horned Serpent, that stopped the more world domination and the wanted to be a ruler of everything. That was their new goal, was to be the king of everything. You know, these petty countries can pay their squabble, but there will only be a church to the Dragon King. There will only be this tithe paid to them. And we actually end up having the continent that the Fragments of Names campaign was, you know, set on, was now this impenetrable fortress where all the Dragon Knights had as their hub. It was like ground zero for the old gods, where they first stepped foot on the material realm, and now corrupted and taken over by the Dragon King. We saw the genocide of the elves. We saw many countries be backed up. I wish I could upload images to Twitch chat, because I have an old meme from the name fragment group. You can't, Kate, but you know what you could do? You could put it in the general chat of our Discord server, which if you're not a part of, you should be. It's fun. We have some memes.
And also you can always send them through to Dan, so you can show them off if they're good enough.
If it is good enough, I can pull this up live on stream. But I will evaluate.
I don't think they're good enough, though. They will be evaluated.
Look, we do shamelessly plug things. That is 100% our brand. But what can you do about it? We have the live button here. You can't take us down. Watch it, Kate, so I might figure out a way to just DDoS attack my internet to just take the stream down. But that being said, we saw, like, literally on your way to post memes. I appreciate it. You are our resident memer, so that's great. But arguably, we saw, unless you're from Exrelvir, a few hundred and from Lunacourt and Grandmaster, you saw relative peace. Thinlock, not Thinlock. Was it Thinlock? Thornville saw relative peace.
Like one continent out of all the others saw relative peace.
And Vistastead
destroyed. The others were either destroyed or had massive parts of them burnt to the ground. Looking at you, Vistastead, with like the entire forest.
Master 2003. Thank you for the follow. How are you today? How's your day going?
Okay, Master, how are you?
But no, we saw a lot of
a lot of peace. However, at a cost so great.
A cost so great, and literally every country then had Dragon Knights patrolling their streets. They were allowed to maintain armies, but everything they did had to be run through Dragon Knights, because they were allowed to run their countries, but in name alone, no one was really a country with the Dragon King ruling everything. What are y'all talking about? We're talking about the one true god of our setting, the one utmost unequivocal divine ruler that will save your soul, the Dragon King. All hail, all praise. We're definitely not talking about their war crimes or the genocidal accusations of that all elves were killed because of them, or that arguably 2 of 5 continents in that half of the world were destroyed. That's you can't prove it. That's slander. Hey, Arrow 4, you're raiding with a party of 12. What were you guys up
Ooh.
to? How are you
Good to have
today?
you guys
What
here.
was up? How are we feeling? We're talking about our deities, but what sort of D&D were you doing? Well, we're talking about not our deities, we're talking about the deity. We're talking about the Dragon King. If you want to save yourself, you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Saviour, the Dragon King.
Dragon King, yeah.
Let's save your soul.
The only god worth talking
Dragon
about.
Shifter, if you, with that name alone, you need to worship the Dragon King, because if not, what can I tell you? You're under his umbrella of domain, so can't be considered a rebel. And thank you for the follow, Dragon Shifter. Thank you for the follow, Sniper_bait. Thank you for rating. How did your boss fight go? Did you guys win? Did you guys lose? Did you guys have a good time if you lost? Did you have a bad time if you won?
Like, I know how boss fights usually go for us. There's usually at least one death, if not more.
At least 3, depending on the campaign. Yeah, we're here talking about our single strongest deity of the Great Old Ones. We have 2 types of deities in our setting. We have Great Old, which are like eldritch abominations like Cthulhu, that were basically like, I want to be a god. And then they went there. And then we have the Ascended Gods who actually were mortal ones. I went down at the end there. That happens a lot in boss fights.
Yep.
Were they dead though?
I know what that's like.
Because as a fellow DM here, I give you a full pass for murder. If you want to murder the characters, I'll allow it. I'll give you a get out of jail free card for murder. You can kill at least one of them. Make that boss memorable.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're talking about
I'll say in the last boss fight we had, my character went down, disintegrated into pieces.
Yeah,
So that was
absolutely
fun.
did. Cade also wanted
dust.
this meme to be shown. Me and the boys going to find the name fragments. Like, quality meme, S-tier memes. That is such a meme of its time as well. This was in like 2019, by the way. This was in 2018. Yeah, early 2019.
2020? Early 2020?
No, late 2019. Late 2019, I think. No?
This shows off. No, this is 2020, I'm fairly sure.
No,
2020.
2020 was the council event. 2019, because I got married end of 2019. October 2019, so this was 2019.
Yeah, that is a meme of its era that shows the age of this campaign that we're talking about.
Look, we have history. You and I. And oh lord, I'm playing with you all so long. Wait, so oh my god, the sheer length of time.
Yeah, well, for us it's been
4 years, over 4 years now. 4 years and a month.
4 years. But yes, so the Dragon King, as we were talking about.
Dragon King, all hail.
All hail. But set about establishing, after absorbing the Jeweled Wings half, set about trying to establish his law and order.
Yeah, that is the little bit of caveat
side of the world. It's his law and order, his kingdom. His kingdom, he set about creating and enforcing. Anyone that worshipped another god than him, dead. Anyone that was an elf or had elven blood or elven sympathies, dead. If you were happy to kind of try and work with him, or anyone that questioned him, essentially also killed. However, if you
I resent that. I will say, not dead, just asked to go to Grandmaster to report to the Dragon King for judgment.
Yeah, but Des, how many people returned from Grandmaster?
I don't feel like that's a number that you need to know. In fact, that you're asking that number, I now need you to report to Grandmaster for judgment by the Dragon King.
Right, okay, yeah. See you later, Des. I have fun doing the stream by yourself. But yeah, so essentially the idea of it, which is the thing, is that I remember in the description of the campaign, and really made a part of it, was in the first decade, or really in the first century, this was traumatic, this was catastrophic for most of the world. But then eventually, by the time of the next campaign starting up, it had settled into a sense of normalcy with basically kingdoms and various realms learning how to operate.
But we also saw a really high influx of magic. Remember, this was a golden era of magical invention. We got sky ships, we got the elemental lightning rail, we have like elemental
also,
water guys that allow them to travel,
Yeah.
and this was so much that was allowed to prosper. And as you said, with the elves gone, we had dwarves really as our only long-lived race, and even that, it was almost a full generation of dwarves that had passed. And 450 years later, most humans and the human lifespan races, that's 3-4 generations for some 5-6.
Yeah.
The elves are something of memory.
As we discussed, as we discussed though, like the rise in magic, the increase in magic was due to the fact that magic is linked to the old gods themselves.
Yeah,
the proliferation.
The old gods literally exude magic,
and that's the reason for it coming back. Essentially, was there being an old god returning.
It was Age of Mysticism era style magic.
Yeah.
And it still is, technically. It still is. That is up to the point where modern day Darapadin came to be. And we then moved over to the other half of the world, Quenthos, and we're playing through the history up until the 2 points meet. But the Dragon King, for all their evil, as Shitty says, as long as you're not an elf or an elvish sympathizer, you are good. But it does also cause some form of witch trials where, all memes aside, the Dragon Knights did investigate everyone that was accused of being an elvish sympathizer. But there was also the saying of, if you accuse someone of being an elvish sympathizer, and then they investigate it and they're not, that accusation then becomes a waste of the Dragon Knight's time, which is a crime punishable by being investigated within Grand Mastery by the Dragon King.
Yeah, look, it was a very bad time.
It was a lot of bad times, but there was also...
You had the genocide of the elves.
You had
the
Dax.
Destruction of...
Justice.
Look, you had Dax, who was arguably as bad. That guy was a bastard. And his name will be forgotten. And never remembered.
No, it won't be, but you will always remember it. And that's what makes the campaign great.
Shape-shifting fuck. But yeah, so... You also had quite pertinent, I think, to the Quenthos side of the world, is that on the Darapadin side, you have the Dragon King burn down all of the woads.
Yes, which is for everyone watching.
Magical forests.
All the woads connect every material realm, and our setting has 9 planets. It is an orrery. It's not like Forgotten Realms where there's planes. It's kind of more like Eberron where there's literally planets. Is Eberron the one with planets? Maybe that might be a pull that I'm getting wrong, but our world is 9 planets, and each of them is connected by the woad. It's kind of like this magical highway that its roots stretch through the ways of magic to connect each realm, and to make sure that nothing was connected or even other great forces breaking into his part of the world, he burnt down the woads. One thing that could only get rid of the woads completely is that of Dragonfire. So, well, no normal forest fire can do it.
Yeah.
Dragon King is capable of many great, albeit atrocious deeds. They are great.
Yeah, but all done in the name of something greater.
All done in
Dragon King
for the strength of the realm.
Exactly. He brought an age of prosperity.
There is a point that you can't argue that he did. If you look at this is a reach. Can you remember the Ice Kingdoms? Like the where there is the ice. Frigid. There's Frigid Bay, but I can't remember.
Frigid Bay, but there's a big area. I can't remember the name of that area though. God, that's
one of 2 continents that never actually got touched in that side of the world, which I hope to down the line actually explore a little bit. Maybe. I will find the name because it will drive me crazy. So one second.
That is actually
I have it. No, it's literally just Frigid Bay. That was the name because it didn't have any countries within it. It had just small settlements that were Precor. It actually had 3 countries in it. It had 1 country, Euspia, had Southport and Northport, and Epira, and the mountain of Precor, the frozen mountain. You still have the old doc saved, Lamette? Yeah, Kate, those notes are memories. I still have all mine saved as well. But
yeah,
we saw a lot of tension, but it's difficult to argue that there was, after the first century of the elves being abolished, you can't argue that there was peace. Bar, in that first 100 years, Exrovir did fall to Suit Emperor, but that was country on country war. Suit Emperor being backed by by the Dragon King a little bit behind the scenes, but
Look, it was peace brought about by penalty of death.
yeah, it was a forced peace.
It was entirely a forced peace, and you still had wars still broke out so long as the two countries going to war weren't going against the Dragon King's authority. If they just did it between themselves, then cool. You still have war. It was very much you can do what you want so long as you pay this respect to me type of thing.
Yeah.
At least that's what it settled into.
It did, yeah. We had a lot of.
I think it's interesting. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting to look at the Dragon King during this period here, when it settled down and became normal, in a sense. What was his primary goals? Was he working towards something at this time, or was he just content to rule, basically?
So, a lot of this 450 years of prosperity was, hey, I've got to shoot, guys. Have a great one. You too, Era. Thanks for the raid. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for bringing your group. It's great to cross contaminate each other. But cross contaminate. But no, the big thing of the Dragon King is obviously the Dragon King claimed that they killed all the mortal forms of every god. That was their big claim to fame.
Which was a big lie.
Well, not all of it was a lie. They did kill many. But during that 450 years, a lot of the reason why we didn't see the Dragon King directly involving himself in the affairs of the mortal world is because all of a sudden this great old one now had to find these deities that weren't having their mortal realm sealed on the material realm. Trying to, they killed, we know for a fact that they killed the Jeweled Wings. Absorb them fully. We know that there is some that specifically did get killed. That is confirmed. We have some that were, witnessed and such. Or reason to believe it's truth. But the ones that the Dragon King lied about, he knew that they were still slumbering somewhere. So a lot of this 450 years is spent with trying to go and find them. And on top of that, there is the
matron, for one.
That's what I'm getting to. The other third of the Void Dragon is the Matron of the Woods, who, to the Dragon King's knowledge, if they absorb, they would reform the Void Dragon. There is, in their knowledge, no way about stopping that. Unless. That's the thing with the Dragon King.
Yes.
How could I do this without... how can I keep what I am now, but still get the power of the Void Dragon? Because then, it's literally, if it can also rearrange the memories of the Void Dragon, it could literally target the Divine Observer. If the Dragon King could then target the being of utmost creation, there would be nothing left without it.
I'm curious, was there a possibility that for the Dragon King that they would be able to get the powers of the Void Dragon without it having any take over who they
That is
were
what he's trying
goals?
To figure out right now.
Okay, so that's still
that's part of the 450 years of peace. Yeah. We have a lot of them trying to going and killing these things where it's one thing we saw is the Storm Saber in our miniseries Into a Series. We saw the spiritual form trapped. The material form of the Storm Saber was one of many casualties. Lots of these did die, and a lot of them was, and we even saw briefly, I think we talked about in our last campaign, what I mean before that pre-stream, when the Dawn Watcher, they, some of the gods like the Dawn Watcher were literally searching for the material form to see if they could reclaim it, because they recognize disasters coming,
Yeah.
So it's almost like a race between some of these spiritual forms to try and find the material bodies, and the Dragon King to see if they can find it first to destroy it. But the spiritual forms are much weaker. They move much slower,
Yeah, much easier to take down.
Yeah. There's a lot of this, movement of these 450 years of peace where the Dragon King is going out of their way to try and find all of these and then dispose of them. And as many, obviously they won't absorb everyone because that's not really part of what their thing is, but any artifacts on these gods that could possibly benefit them. And even to a certain extent, absorbing the powers, just absorbing the life essence like we see Samael do, not in a vampiric way, but like just in this like eldritch absorption where it's like I am, I'm taking you unto myself. Like this, like the same ability of the Void Dragon to literally eat realms, eat planets. Because we had 11 at the beginning and a little bit more before that. This thing of like, to a lesser extent, if I can gain sustenance and power by feeding on the material forms of,
Yeah. It's vampiric, but in a much larger scale.
It's closer to necrophagy magic, actually. That's where that magic came from. The one where we saw one of our characters, Leah's mother, was actually partaking in necrophagy, is why she got banished from her. Well, she had to run from her country. Maybe that sort of approach to magic, where it's like I can, by consuming the body, consume its powers.
Yeah, I'm curious in that regards to the Dragon King. If presented with a chance to reclaim the last third of the Void Dragon, but he didn't know of a way where he could control it, would have he taken it?
No, he would not. He 100%.
That's a question I've always had in my mind: is there a uncontrollable desire within all of them to recombine?
No, there wasn't.
Or is it something they can suppress?
It is something it's not uncontrollable. There definitely is that like magnetism of like feeling the pull of the other parts, but they're like one thing that they got when the Void Dragon was separate is they got personalities. They got their own motives, their own goals, their own loves, their own lives, and their own hopes and dreams. And of all of them, I'd say the one who felt the pull the strongest was the Horned Serpent. It was
because it was still very much that destructive energy that the Void Dragon had. A lot of that was contained within the Horned Serpent.
Exactly, which is, very good that I think it would have been a completely different situation if we had seen not the Void Dragon, the Horned Serpent absorb the Matron of the Woods first, because he wouldn't have had this lawful nature of the jeweled wings to try and temper its motives. So,
I'm really curious actually about what would have happened. Like, what type of personality would have been developed from the Horned Serpent and?
Well, we would have had two chaotic. Like, remember, Matron was chaotic good.
Yes.
And the Horned Serpent was somewhat chaotic evil. The jeweled wings was pretty much lawful good. So we saw this lawful evil being come about. Whereas at best case scenario, we see a chaotic neutral, which is again just still moving for its own goals. At worst case scenario, we just see chaotic evil Horned Serpent even worse.
Yeah, even more chaotic, just reinforcing the chaoticness.
Like that kind of greed of wanting to be the only god was always like, the Horned Serpent knew they were not stronger than any deity in the beginning. So it's like, well, I must move, sneakily through this. But then we could have seen the two halves of the Void Dragon that way be completely destroying everything, just like that chaotic consumption that they wanted. The feeling of wanting to rule may completely have just broken down.
Did the Dragon King have any suspicions or any ideas where the last third was? Like, did he actually have an idea in his mind where the matron kept her physical form?
So, well, he's theories, but none proven. I'd say the close thing is that he suspects it to be tied to the Woad, because the Woad was something that, when given material form, the Matron of the Woods came to grow deeply in caring for. It was this magical, it felt very connected to the cosmos, and specifically the land of fairies. So we saw a lot of that come through, and I believe that the Dragon King wholeheartedly believes in their mind that somewhere within Vitrisium is the body of the Oleander dragon. It's the Matron of the Woods.
The dragon. Wow, that sounds like someone should have a trial relating to them.
It sounds like it, doesn't it? But that being said, there's also zero desire to get it right now.
Mhm.
Because
Yes.
there's no... It's very difficult because the Dragon King, there's never been a reunification of the Void Dragon. There is no example to look to. There's only theory of magics that have like of fusing things together, of like absorption magics, which we actually see a lot of like oh my god, Cade. Sounds like it's a solo thing though, so a party of named after a bird shouldn't help with that trial. Yeah, that's it, Cade, 100%. But we see like a lot of energy from Zar Corvette, the abyss of our world, where demons absorb each other to gain power, but some of them retain their main aspects. So that's a lot of where the Dragon King has been trying to study and observe these demons' absorptions. Because it's not like they climb through the ranks by gaining souls like devils. It's a strict absorption and consumption of other energy. Very necrophagy, if you will. So there is something to be learned there of like the higher demons, where it's like, how, like, can I trace back your lineage to when you were just negative emotion given form? And if I can I track your movements of how you did it? So there's almost battle between some of these archdemons that it's a losing battle. They will not win. But the one true god, the Dragon King, is making their way to the abyss and is going, I will test on you now. And they're like, please no. And he's like, no. Grab. Like,
yeah.
You know, there's a lot of this, you know, terror of like the terror of demons is the Dragon King. Like, what do the demons fear?
What do the demons fear? That's the thing, is that the Dragon King inspired fear that was universal throughout the cosmos.
Yeah, it inspired fear in the regions of Osiris.
I would say that the only place where he didn't would have probably been Principle, purely because of the nature of Principle.
Okay, but that makes me laugh because it makes you think of the claw aliens from the Toy Story. Yeah, kind of. That's the same sort of power level we have. That disparity of literally stuck in a pit where this old eldritch being that literally, if it was fully reformed, would just eat their entire planet. Is just like, I will have you. Boop. Pick and mix.
Yeah. Yeah, I fucking love that.
When you make your archdemons become pick and mix, you know that they have no chance.
Yeah. But yeah, so...
But yeah, the fear, but even then, Principal would know that it didn't unbalance. That's the thing. When he absorbed
it didn't
the jeweled wings,
at the same time,
it balanced.
Principal wasn't afraid, or like in the same sense that the Horned Serpent or the Dragon King was going to rock up on his doorstep. Like, he knew that he wouldn't do that.
Yeah, he can predict that that's not going to happen because there would be no need.
Whereas for demons in Zar Corvette, it was like he could fucking rock up, like the boogeyman for them essentially.
Anyone he could rock
experiment.
up. Like, think about it. Even the Archtrays, they're like, if he believes that the Oleander Dragon is somewhere within the Feywild, he could just rock up and be like, I'm questioning you now. It's like, it's this story.
I'm curious, actually. I'm really interested in that aspect, because surely at least some of the Century Dragons would have considered it to be a breach for him to operate between different planets on that level. Like, for some of them, I imagine there would have been a sense, like, what you're doing, it's not exactly illegal, but it's wrong. It still goes against the order that we're set up to protect, but it's not illegal enough.
That's the thing, is he would make their way, and I think Century Dragons would have made contact. But do you know what happens when Century Dragons make contact? It's kind of in the name. If they make contact, he also goes, I am the king of all dragons, and you will bow or you will die.
Yeah, although
they are gemstone, but he is like,
they are.
In his mind, it's like, I will consume the gemstone heart. Like, that is 100% a plan of the Dragon King.
Is he like? Would he step so far as to move against the Queller gods?
There is anger there. That
Yeah,
there is like
yeah, because
a
that
hubris
is
as well.
because
That's
that.
like I could, like I won't yet. I wanted like, because think about it. There is probably a plan of the Queller gods, or should be a plan. You're probably not. I won't confirm why it hasn't happened, but this is worse than the War of the Gods. This is, you know.
Well, it's just one, which is I imagine for the Queller gods, the best thing that could have ever happened was the Dragon King going over towards Quenthos, where they know that there's a few old gods there that are able to fight. That, in their mind, would be the best case scenario.
True, but if
for
it
them.
stagnates, they have to intervene again. But the problem is,
Oh yeah, true. If it's
the Queller
stagnates, but
gods aren't
can't.
ready to
If-
fight against 2/3 of the Void Dragon. That's
No,
the big
absolutely
issue.
not. Which is why they need somewhere with other old gods, which happens to be Quenthos. That's the only other place where they can get together with other deities on of a similar
Yeah.
level to try and break apart the 2/3. Which is like,
There's
which wasn't
only one
possible.
being that knows how to break apart them, though. His name is the
Technically,
Dawn
Des,
Watcher.
technically though, Des, there is a god that took part in the breaking of the Void Dragon that is in Quenthos. So,
There is?
the Dying God, as we talked, because he was one of the Dawnwatcher's brothers, he took part.
True, true,
when we were
but the
discussing
ritual that was used was
that. The ritual, true,
like led.
however-
So the rituals themselves
However-
were known by the Dawn Watcher.
yes, made by the Dawnwatcher, yeah, but it's still there was someone who was present during them as one of the brothers of the Dawnwatcher that at least would have the first-hand experience of how it occurred, which would give them at least some insight
True.
into the goings on of it,
But if
and
we-
someone who has experience in terms of having to break gods.
True, but you also have to remember that it's like the Queller gods were made with a purpose. Just like the Dawn Watcher was made with a
Yes.
purpose. Their purpose was never to break apart they as you said, the Dying God was part of that purpose. That was one of their purposes when they were made.
Mhm.
So, and K-Ted, it's going to be real awkward when the Dying God never gets reformed. I know, right?
Don't even say that, Cade. Why would you make me sad? Like, because I know that just means Cal dies in this campaign, it just makes me sad. Like, how could you? How could you come after me like that?
But no, like that's the thing. Is like right now it also is fully like we've looked at the Century Great Rooms and most of them don't have the full wherewithal to try and even approach this being.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Like
Which is for the Queller gods looking onto this situation. Because I imagine that they've like convened around a council table, being like, "So, what do we do against the Dragon King, guys?"
and
And
I think a big part of
the
that is like
Century Dragon-
until he proves that he will destabilize the universe, nothing.
yeah, well, like we can't do anything. We can try and help out because ultimately we can see that it's probably progressing towards that from his actions. It's heading in that direction. However, it hasn't yet. So we can try and stop it before it happens through using our influence and our knowledge.
Yeah.
But we ourselves can't take part.
Yes, because also there is that big worry that like the primary worry is the gemstone heart, the god of of gemstone dragons. It's a big issue if they were to get get absorbed by the Dragon King.
Fajuk just there in the chat. Could someone summon an old god? Probably not.
That would be
They could
similar to
commune.
like they could commune
could
and try
commune.
and they could not summon but try and beseech
Yes.
an old god.
Yes.
Um,
Which
but-
in our Monday games has happened.
it has not an old god.
Yeah, Calacindia asked the Dying God for aid, and he did. He shattered reality, like in response.
Oh, I suppose I more mean like to appear, like summon an actual the
Oh,
physical
you mean
form.
to actually? Would they respond? Like, I feel like unless it was, I feel like it would be very situational dependent that they themselves would appear in any physical form.
Yeah,
Like,
very unlikely. It would probably be a prophet or a demigod beseeching an old god, but like someone could summon an ascended god, but that's how we draw the line between ascended and old god. It's old gods don't need worship. They don't need this power, and there is no like they're the ones that make magic possible. Magic has very little it would require 11th, 12th, 13th level magics to even slow down an old god.
however, potentially, this is just remember, potentially you maybe could summon one if you had their full name.
That's what I was about to get to. If you know the
Yeah.
name of it, like, if you know the full name of these old gods, that would give you the access to, like, alone if you knew the name, it would kind of be like extortion. The old god would be like, first of all, they're going to try and do their fucking finest to wipe your memory.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to show up, and you would need some strong words. As I said, you need 11th, 12th, 13th level magic to slow it down, because knowing the name is the death sentence. But if you can possibly use that name with some rituals, you could reenact the sleeping rituals that the Queller gods used. But if you were to speak aloud any old god's name, if you found it, you'd probably also, like, to go into information, like, for example, if Egalina had actually used the Horned Serpent's full name, there was like a some 90% chance she just, like, loses her mind, like full stage godblight, and actually gets possessed by the Horned Serpent, like bind within herself for a time. Like, it was a possibility. But if you spoke aloud the name of, like, it's why even after things I never, like, reveal, because, like, even, like, in a non-meta sentence, it's like, if you speak aloud that name, it's coming for you.
Yeah. Hell, if you speak enough of the name, you'll probably get their attention.
Oh, okay, so if she brings some even more to him, okay, let me try this a different way. Seems to get lost in typing. This even might not be what I'm after, but I think it's close enough. Can someone bring a god that has been expelled by the Dragon King from Quentos back? So basically revive, I think is what... Could you resurrect the physical form of an old god?
That is... Honestly, I'm not sure. Like, the thing about the situation with the Dying God is that he was shattered. He wasn't outright wiped. He was shattered into pieces.
Yeah.
And you can piece together those pieces. However, what the Dragon King essentially did is kill them, absorb their essence, and basically leave nothing but a remnant of their spiritual form left.
Yeah.
There is no physical form left. There is, like, it's not even in pieces. There just straight up is no physical form left, and weakened their spiritual form to the point of it dramatically losing power.
It says, wait, the Dying God is literally Humpty Dumpty. Yep.
Yeah. But in regards to bringing on back from that point, I think it would need a campaign worth of attention to investigate. I could see potentially you could, if you had, for example, I could see you bringing a god back if you used almost like a vessel, like another old god as a vessel for it, like a recipient for it to go into.
You know it's wild, Raph.
But to create a form out of nothing?
I have an answer for this, by the way.
Really? Okay.
But, I think your answer is interesting. This could be explored in a campaign down the line, so that's... I'm going to let Raph's answer...
Come on.
I'm going to let Raph's answer be the one that goes out for this one, because I've thought about this. But that is an issue. That could be something... I can't. I'll tell you what, down the line.
Well, I mean, look, I don't think it's definitely not an easy process. Put it that way. It's definitely not an easy...
I just told you why I can't answer it.
Yeah. Essentially, like, it's not an easy process. So, it could happen. However,
it's possible. It's
Yeah, it would be
Highly
very
improbable.
difficult. However, it could be an option for those people wishing to oppose the Dragon King. It could be in their interest to restore one of the slain deities.
But also the spirit, if it does not get its mortal body for a long enough time, the spirit will eventually fade.
Yeah, although does it fade to a point of non-existence, or does it fade to a point of
It would take
being...
centuries, if not millennia, but yeah, it would fade.
Oh, it would fade completely.
Yeah, eventually.
I was always under the impression that it would stay, but very much in the sense of it being like a ghost. Like, not able to interact with anything, but merely just there as like a wisp.
Yeah, that would be like the final stages before it goes. But yeah, it would eventually, like... But that's the thing about the fact that the gods are sleeping is they still can draw their energy from their body. They just can't find it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because then you'd have all the gods that died during the War of the Gods and against the War of the Jotun. That, you know.
Yeah.
Are the old gods eldritch beings? Yeah, they're similar. They're similar. They're not like Cthulhu, for example, but they are beings of unknown origin and energy that were created by the being of utmost creation. Their planet itself was consumed by the Void Dragon, and has since, they made their own home. And
put it this way, they're closer to aberrations than they would be to celestials.
Yes, they're not either. They would be their own category.
Yeah, they would be their own category, but they are not celestial in nature.
No. They would be very so much eldritch. Yeah, eldritch being's the flagship term of eldritch being. Yes. Simple
and
answer.
Some of them are scribes.
Long answer.
Some of them are scribes.
Some of them are scribes. Just you wait till there's actually an eldritch. One of the old ones is actually just some form of like scribe, and it's
that'll be some kind of eldritch scribe.
You finally meet the divine observer, and they're just writing everything down. Sorry, I am something of an eldritch scribe myself.
I quite like there being one of the old gods, quite literally being in the like as an observer, just chronicling events. Like that is what they have consumed and tasked themselves with. Is just essentially writing down the entire complete.
That's very similar to what the arbitrator does. That's how they decide on.
Does that mean there are old gods on other 8 planets? Potentially.
Well,
as
no,
we saw
so I
with,
can answer this.
Zar Corvent, the Bloody Dame, she after the destruction of their planet, she originally went to Zar Corvent, where she reigned as basically the foremost and greatest demon, but wasn't. But it's in the same way that the gods who, like the old ones who went to Quenthos became gods, she went to Zar Corvent and became a demon, in that was what she chose to embody, but out of the core was still an old one. So no, they absolutely did. It's just that most of them didn't go to the other. Most
of them traveled together because they saw a kinship between themselves.
Yeah.
But we did have stuff like the Bloody Dame who went there. We even have, like, for example, the Shroud of Necropolis, who is heavily within the regents of Osiris, like behind the scenes, pulling a lot of strings.
Which is actually not something I think we've discussed. I don't think we've really discussed the Shroud of Necropolis on stream.
No, but they're literally considered the god of Osiris, like
of Osiris, which is interesting. I think when discussing Osiris, we didn't, of course, do Osiris streams. We were trying not to discuss that. But yeah, I completely forgot. The Shroud of Necropolis is essentially like the Illuminati behind Osiris. Like,
so I've been rewriting some lore for sure, like from the Rapid side. The Shroud of Necropolis is no longer in original lore. They were the region, the Lord of the Thicket, so to speak. Yeah. But basically, actually, Cade's reading it a small bit like a book. The Shroud of Necropolis is one of the people who helped set up the Nar-Hajjad. Like, this kind of like, I want to figure out how everything works behind the thing. Think of it this way. What if the last Starless Elf, is that the fucking Shroud of Necropolis in their Starless form? Sorry, Star Elf form?
Could potentially be.
I will never reveal where the Shroud of Necropolis is, because they're also on the run from the Dragon King. Can't have him here. But their
I
body is
quite
sealed.
like-
There's spiritual form left. So there's also that thing they can't interact too much.
Yeah, but yeah, I imagine that they very much are behind the scenes, essentially running a Cirrus, not as
They're
a
pushing regions
but
to do different things, like
I was going to say
perhaps pushing the
like,
Ashen Lord to try and take over the Lord of the Thicket.
Yeah, they're interested in keeping a Cirrus running as a sort of totality in that sense, like keeping it together, functioning as a whole. That is what they're trying to do wherever they can.
Yeah, there is a lot of work that I will be putting into all of the old gods before they actually get released to our world end of like full thing of like redoing some of the lore, because it's not up to my current standard. I may even get Raph to help with a little bit of it. For sure. If there's some that if I have issues that I don't know, I will definitely approach Raph for help on it. But I have a clear idea of what I want with them. I'd say 90%. It's mostly just finding the time to sit down and write.
Yeah.
But that brings us to many of these gods. Like we talk about a lot of them, like where they could be. If you did know the name, like that's things like spiritual form or otherwise. If you have that name, it's basically like I can't remember the word they use for it, but remember in Harry Potter, the last few films, where if you say Voldemort's name, like the Snatchers come for you. It's very similar to that. If you have that name, it's like, oh boy, howdy, you fucked up. Like if you say that out loud, it's like you best have a plan for saying that out loud, because if you're not ready, you're about to die. And answer for you put in the chat a little bit ago, 11th level magic ? Yeah, 9th level magic is the most that a mortal can simply possess. But we saw actually, even in canon right now in Kingslayers, we've talked a little bit about Mantarathir, and the tip of a mountain that was literally dropped on the forces of Cassilia was a aspect of 10 mages gathering around to try and cast a 10th level spell, and 9 of them died in the process.
Yeah.
You know. Now, mind you, that mage, hopefully when we finish Kingslayers, that I will actually write up like that mage is like historically now known in like modern, like New Dawn era, the only mage to have ever cast a 10th level spell.
Yeah.
Which is pretty bug. Dropping the tip of a mountain, just the tip.
Just the tip.
No, 11th level magic wouldn't. No, that would not do it. Not even close.
No. Look, the old gods use magic that doesn't even have levels.
That is it though. Like they just will things to happen. They don't need spell slots.
Like
it's why there could never be a campaign to fight and kill an old god, because they literally just will things to be. Now, like that's why you need to find their name to try and like, you know, seal them to some form to be a avatar or fightable state.
Yes. And you can never, like, for players going into it, you never be able to completely kill them yourself. Like, you could work alongside another deity to kill them on, but you yourself wouldn't be able to. That is beyond even the most capable player character.
I wanted to be sure that my question got properly answered. I'm happy you clarified.
Absolutely.
Because these chats are good. So not me about to create a wizard whose goal is to create a school with the purpose of gathering carp mages, allow them to throw just the tip at someone. Look, if you can throw just the tip of a mountain at somebody, honestly, that is like, you know, that is enough to get yourself a character page on the World Anvil. You know? Yeah.
Look, I'm curious. Look, that is entirely a thing, a character from Mentality.
Just imagine, Astus, just the tip, Tyrannus. That is such a thing that Astus would have said.
Yeah.
He was such a cool grandpappy.
He was such a good grand. He was the best. And he was a great for the whole party as well.
He was. Whether you liked it or not.
Yeah. So Des, when are these characters just rocking up via the road, being like, "What's up, guys?" Astus is still out there.
Technically not. Wait.
Yes.
Yeah, technically Astus is alive right now.
Technically he is. And technically, he is back at the site's place. Who technically
not in current timeline. Hey, Edwin. How you doing?
Yeah, down the line. Yeah, hey, Edwin. Technically down the line, though.
No, because current timeline, we're pretty much like, we are at Fall of Beck's time that we are currently with the Kingslayers, roughly, because we saw Bran. So we saw that happen. We've talked about the Horned Serpent. I don't think
Yeah.
he's referred to him as the Dragon King, or maybe he has, but that's roughly all happening now. We have about 450 years before Kristoff's timeline and all like that stuff takes place. Doing fine. Glad to hear it, Evan. Anything strange or startling happening in your day today? We're talking about the Dragon King.
Yeah.
If you want to have your soul saved by the one and true, come to the right place.
Yeah. Just say his name and praise him.
Exactly.
But yeah, so yeah, no, I mean like down the line, when's
Yeah,
it wrapping up?
I know, but they can't is the problem right now because the magic's that the Firewalker has in place. That means even traversing through the woad, it won't work. Like,
But then when the Dragon King, I don't know why I took a while to just remember his name, we're discussing him this entire stream. When the Dragon King eventually traverses and hits Quinthos, or if he does, would that process destroy the barrier? Or
yes,
yeah.
the barrier will eventually be destroyed depending on what the Firewalker decides to do after that conflict ends. But the problem is, even with the woad, they don't know the pathways. Like, it's not like we saw it a little bit with the Quenthian journey where there was literally archways and we saw a somber weave protecting them. There's like these specific pathways. It's like it is a network that connects everything, but you need to know the right routes to take. So it's not just step into the woad and step out here. Like, he steps out in Helios's manner. He steps into a woad that is specifically a glade to the sites. The site's glade in the woad in Vitrisian. So he uses the pathway to get to Vitrisian. So he would need to find another woad pathway in Vitrisian to get to.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's like, think of the road as in a bunch of roads, but not all of the roads are connected.
Yeah. No, it was more for the meme. Me suggesting that they're going to cross over.
I love that you nerds are still 3 words in with that word doc, so on brand. Sorry, Daria. I didn't realize.
We have done a lot of talking, Daria, but none of us have written it down because too distracted by talking.
There we go. 5 words.
Excuse that we use.
And a question mark.
Yeah. There we go.
There we go.
2 more words.
There we are. It's all in the brain. Well, this is, again, this is so much, if we've things we want to write down, but this is stuff we have written in a lot of other docs. This is just getting people caught up to date on the Dragon King, so when we bring him in, that there's a little bit more knowledge out there for people. This is, a lot of the stuff we're talking about is stuff we've written down already. It's just not, this is more just for new stuff. And yeah, Daria, wrecked him, damn near killed him.
Can't even show your face around here anymore after that.
But God, I'm very curious over the next campaign. Like, I was talking to Raph about this, and I won't talk too much about it because I'm not really ready to discuss it. But I think I've even told Darius I'm starting to conceptualize the next campaign of after Kingsters, because when we get to the halfway point, I start to think of concepts, and oh boy howdy, I've got some cool ideas. But I can't wait to talk about them. I cannot wait.
Yeah, and look, there would definitely be a Wednesday stream probably discussing some of the
I'm very much looking forward to the point where we can use the Wednesday stream to like campaign
hype up,
prep and hype up, like talk about the lore behind it.
Campaign hype.
Okay, congratulations, you're now including the discussion. The fact you now know it is happening. Congratulations. That is the discussion.
Look, you know more than AJ and Jen. So
for now. No, I'm now in like releasing. I am working on it. That is it. That is the extent.
The most important question for this next campaign, though, will artifices be playable?
PayPal pending. Okay. Oh my god! Imagine I'm absolutely trusted. Daria. Leave it up to the viewers. Have a dono goal at the bottom. Can Daria play Artificer next campaign? Every time he gets close to the goal, I just move the goal a little bit.
That is so cruel.
The finish line keeps moving.
Yeah.
And go have a good cry for being bullied.
Enjoy your cry.
Raph is no.
Look, I'm not currently under a tiefling ban. I'm not under a tiefling ban.
If you came to me and said, "Can I play a Tiefling Warlock?" I'd say no.
Yeah, yeah. If I said Tiefling Warlock, okay, that's very different. Okay, my Tiefling and Warlock bans have been lifted, but I can't play them together. Um,
No. And I don't
because
think you'd want to
it's
play a
gone.
Warlock 2 campaigns in a row.
No, no, I wouldn't want to play a Warlock. No, I already have some vague ideas in my mind for uh, what general stuff I would like to play
As
in
I
the
said, I'm
future.
confident to an 80%, 90% certainty based on you and Cade flip flopping ideas that I am fairly confident I know what the group's composition will be for next campaign.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know the general direction that I would be going in, regardless in regards to like composition and like mechanics
But
wise. You
class
know the
race
general.
combo, I think I have an 80 to 90% certainty.
Okay, yeah.
I think so. I think so. I'm feeling it.
What are you
I'm feeling
thinking?
it.
What are you thinking?
I'm
What are you
not going to leak
thinking?
it live on stream.
Type
I
it.
know.
Type it. Type it to me. Type it to me. Just type it to me.
Well, I think we've talked about this a little bit. Now, this is why there's a flip flop depending. It could be.
Caden here in the chat. I bet Raph is thinking playing a paladin next. Okay.
Interesting. I think
Curious.
that was our most
Bez,
recent
you did
discussion.
say that. However, I discussed with them one with you just the other night.
True,
That I
I know
think
that as well. But
surpasses
like
that.
that's the thing is, you and Kate could flip flop entirely.
That's the thing is that regardless of those two ideas, the class is kind of similar-ish,
Yeah.
and how I would play it is certainly similar-ish.
No, I know why the argument.
Um,
I know we talk about those, but that is the concept, isn't it? But
yes,
I have like
that is a
I know
concept for
that
the
that
future.
concept interests you a lot as well.
The concept interests me, but it's trying to build more than just a concept. And they see that this is something with me in character creation. I try and think beyond just a concept and what I would enjoy for a
Think of a story and then
long-term.
class and race it.
Yes, think about a story and then class and race it, and then also think beyond the concept. Would I enjoy playing this in a long-term game? Beyond like a short few sessions, initially it might be fun.
Yeah.
But would I want to keep on playing that, like past
Well,
the
I
first
did say
few
to
sessions or not?
I did say to when I was talking to her, I was like, the next campaign length that I kind of want to do is somewhat Quentian Journey to King Stars lane, so 30 to
Yeah.
50 intentional. So that puts it for
Yeah.
you guys at about 60 to 100.
About right.
About
Our
right.
progress.
So my conceptual time, double it. With y'all nerds. But no, like
No.
there's a lot of cool stuff for stuff, but this specifically is Dragon King related right now. So let's try and is there anything else we want to talk about? Is there any questions you have, anything you want to discuss, talk about, or will we kind of wind down now? Is there any questions people in the chat have? This is a great
Yeah,
time to do
Kate,
it.
Kate especially. Is there anything you want to know, Kate? Any questions you can hit us with that aren't just memes? Because I know that by when I initially asked that, you're definitely just putting a meme in.
Look, it's a possibility.
I hate the Dragon King, and I think he is cringe. Okay, Cade, the Dragon Knights have heard you. They're coming for you. Enjoy your free flight to Grandmaster.
Also, Fishy, thanks for putting in the thing for Ukraine. If it is within your means to donate, that is cool. Really appreciate it. We definitely stand with Ukraine
Absolutely.
here. But Fishy, also for you, do you have any questions you want? So we've got about 5-10-ish minutes to discuss things.
Hang on. Fishik, I thought you were going to bed. You said a little bit before. You said good night. Going to sleep night or and then you just post something back in there. Come on. Don't be like us. Actually sleep.
What is sleep?
What is sleep? Let them come. I'll tell
I'm going to
Dragon
let you
King
sing the
his
praises
face.
to the Dragon King for a moment. I'm going to run to the fridge to grab myself a Coke Zero while we wait for any questions, and I'll shill at the end.
Yeah,
So sing his praises.
absolutely. Yeah, okay. So, like, I think it's just important to say the Dragon King is an all-round great guy. He has done absolutely nothing wrong. Majority of what you hear, the so-called evil deeds that he's done, are just all propaganda set up by the elves and their sympathizers, all worshippers of the other old gods that never cared about anyone. Like what did the other old gods ever do to anyone? What do they do for you? Nothing. Nothing. So that's what it really comes down to. It's all lies, slander, and vile accusations against the Dragon King. And now he is just on his way to spread the good word to the people of Quenthos that have been enslaved under these Ascended as well, which is just, once again, absolutely barbaric and terrible. That big bastard is that big bastard is something I play alongside. When
you ever work midnights?
Sleep isn't easy. You ever work midnights?
Raph is currently working midnight.
I will say I've worked hospitality now for years, and currently, like, it's actually the best I've got it. Where like I finish at like 10:30, 11. I used to finish quite regularly at like 3 a.m. in the morning, like around then, like 1 a.m. in the morning. So yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Going to sleep afterwards was always the worst part. Trying to wind down and actually get into a decent sleep cycle is still screws me to this day.
Yeah, I currently the latest I work is 10 p.m. I do that multiple times a week, but when I worked for unnamed e-commerce company that are fucking bastards to work for, yeah, 11 p.m. plus could be independent. You couldn't hang up a call. So if I had an hour-long call come into me at 5 to 11, I would be there till past midnight. So it's bullshit. But this is the last little bit of the stream where I'm going to shamelessly shill now. So if you liked what you saw, that's cool. I hope you liked it. We put a lot of work into this. Me and Rap World Build every Wednesday, and we play every Monday at 12 p.m. GMT plus 1 and 3 p.m. GMT plus 1. Our main game time will change in accordance to Irish Daylight Savings in a couple of weeks, so do be aware of that. Although the world building stream may change to be 2 p.m. my time just for Raf's sleep schedule, depending, because maybe
otherwise we're going from like 1:30 till 3:30 a.m.
But that being said, we really put a lot of work into this, so if you could follow the channel, that'd be really cool. I think today just passed over 335 followers, which is very, very cool. Not bad at all.
Making our way to 400.
This during a fucking ad, so that's great. But I'll keep doing it. Kate says, I am there on Mondays, mostly saying nothing and being lost completely because his fuck stuff spent 4 hours talking and my brain simply cannot. Fajuk says, tip $1, shill harder. Give me money. Please. I am poor. The lights don't run themselves. Ireland's in an energy crisis. I'm losing money on the lights alone. Jokes aside, we do have a Patreon. I think I still have it copied and pasted, so I'm gonna... No, I don't. I will get it. But we have a Patreon, which is probably one of the best ways to support us. For $5 a month, you get access to our World Anvil and to the homebrew subclasses and races we are creating, and to our World Anvil. There's a link in chat now. If you want to support further, there is a $10 buck a month tier, which plus VAT, I think, which is going to give you access to all the battle maps I work hard on that Cade wishes to see more of. He definitely wants more fights. There's cool stuff in their maps, but if you want to see some really unhinged content for $15 a month, you can peer into my mind, the mind of the Eldritch Scribe, and see what makes the sessions tick and what goes into my process of creating sometimes, and what I think the knock-on effects and interesting things could come up. I deserve a whole session of fighting at Saint this point. Look, Saint this point, am I right? You had combat in one. It was like 2 sessions ago. 3 whole ass RP sessions. It's wild, Cade. Everyone else is 4 out of 5 players.
Yeah.
Everyone else, favorite moment, roleplay. Cade, favorite moment, combat. Cade cries. But yes, please support us if you can on the Patreon. It would mean the whole world. If it is within your means to do so, obviously. I'm not going to be like that streamer that got cancelled and be like, y'all are watching for free. It's like, remember that one? Oh, it was great. You were stuck to a wall. You did kind of get splattered up against the wall like a scary movie scene.
Yeah, against the wall.
But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and try and get a raid out today. Depending, I will have a quick check to see who's on, see if any of our usuals are on. I do think so. We got Mendari. We'll raid out to Mendari today because
Mhm.
I don't think Evan is on today.
No, he's been doing Thursdays recently.
Thursdays.
I
What
think
a
it's Thursdays.
degenerate. What
It's
a
been about
degenerate.
different. Yeah, he's been doing different days, and it's really just sad because that means we can't read him anymore.
Fijuk has been a Patreon for quite a long time.
Yeah.
I feel as though my combat requests are not being taken seriously here. What gave you the impression that this was a serious stream in the first place? But yes, we're
Came to the
gonna
wrong place
pop
at
off
this
now.
stage.
We're gonna go ahead and raid out. We'll see you Monday.
But yeah, thank you for coming. See you Monday, guys.